Greetings, my friends, and welcome. Thanks for joining me for this journey back to my health. This is not a how-to guide. This is not meant to be informational or educational, I should say. This is more just me documenting my journey back to health. So the first thing I want to address, and I get asked this a lot, what's with the Guy Fawkes mask, Perilous? Well, the short answer is that I'm a bit camera shy. So the reason I'm making this video is to document my journey back to health. I can't say that I'm an unhealthy person, but I'm by no means what I would consider healthy. And I'd like to get back to a place where I could consider myself to be a healthy person, both physically and mentally. And I'm not exactly there right now. I will show some pictures here. You can see all this in my blog. I'm not an unhealthy, unfit guy, as you can see. Not exactly a whole lot overweight. I'm actually close to my height for weight ratio, or whatever you want to call it. But of course, my body fat index, what have you, is pretty askew. I've got a good pot belly going, but other than that, got a decent frame to work with. Nothing to sneeze at. Not to focus too much on the physical side of things. Now, a couple things that I'd like to first talk about is I personally believe, and I've seen a few videos and read some stuff online that kind of backs this up, that you should be taking some before and after pictures, which I was a little reluctant to do at first. I figured I would go ahead and do it and just swallow my pride and just get it out there. So here's a shot of me right now, the current state, which again you can see all these pictures in a better quality on my blog. I'm not sure why you'd want to see this in high definition, mind you, but there it is. There I am in all my glory. And for those of you who are Final Fantasy fans, maybe you can appreciate those scrolls behind me. That's kind of a backdrop. So that's where I'm at right now. Last time I got on the scale, which was less than a month ago, I weighed in somewhere at 185, and I'm 6 foot right on the dot. From what I've read, the weight doesn't really matter a whole lot. It's more about how much fat is on your body. So, and I haven't done that test yet because I don't have one of those things. I know you can figure it out with math and all that stuff, but haven't bothered to figure it out yet. Probably I'll get into that once I get more into the moderate to advanced stages of my would-be transformation here. So that's where I stand right now. I'm hoping to make some good headway on that in the next 6 months. Again, my goals are fairly realistic. I watched a really good documentary from Arnold Schwarzenegger the other day, which got me thinking that anybody who's anybody, should have a goal when they start these kind of things. And my goal is to just, might sound generic, but my goal is to just be a healthier version of who I am right now. And what that means is I want to be physically and mentally fit. Maybe not a bodybuilder like this, right? That's my face photoshopped on Arnold's body. This is kind of my motivation for for this journey. I'm gonna keep this on my wall as a reminder of what my goal is, and keep it fresh in the mind. But there's a lot of things to cover here, which I'd like to go on with. So, in terms of what I have for equipment, I just picked up the other day for 25 bucks. For 20 bucks, actually, I got myself a bench on a used ad site. Having that delivered in a few days, hopefully. Other than that, I managed to pick up a killer deal for a guy that was selling 96 pounds worth of weights and a bar for $5. I guess he was an older gentleman and just wanted to get out of there, so I gladly went and picked it up from him. A little dirty, a little full of spider webs and nests and whatnot, but cleaned it off. Everything is looking good, and that's over here behind me. There you can see it, and again, you can see this on my blog. And I've also got these that I had from before, which is just a range of dumbbells here. The hexagonal one, the hexagonal ones are 25 each. I've got the black ones here, which are 10, 8s, or the maroon colored ones, and then the green ones are 5. And I've got a little Go Fit ball or whatever that thing is. I'm not even sure what it does, but I've got one of those. I've also got one of those which I didn't take a picture of earlier. I forgot to do that. But I've got one of those pull-up bars that you can put in your doorway. So I've got a pretty decent set of equipment here to get me started for a beginner anyway. Not too shabby. That should be enough to get me started. But I do have that to work with. For the weights, they're in increments of 15, 10, and 8. And I've got, let's see, so I've got 2 sets of the 15s. I've got 1 set of 10s and 1 set of 8s. Plus the bar is, I would say, anywhere from 7 to 10 pounds. So decent amount of weights to get started with. Definitely, like I said, good enough for a beginner. In terms of nutrition and and supplements, these are the ones that I personally decided to go with for this first round of my getting back to health. Um, by no means, again, am I advocating these. This is strictly experimental. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a nutritionist. I only know of these things from my own personal experience. And if you're a man of science like I am, you know that that's not worth much. You need to do your own research. You need to figure out what works for you. You need to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and what is just plainly a crock and you shouldn't waste your money on. So these are the things that I'll say I'm experimenting with right now. Um, these are the ones that I personally felt, based on my research, that I was going to try and use in combination with my getting started workouts and whatnot. Some of these things are for physical health, some of them are for mental health, mental performance, focus, and whatnot. And again, do your own research, figure out what works for you, and go from there. I might find 6 months down the road that I'm not using half of these or any of them at all, based on my results. So, or maybe complications, who knows? The point that I'm trying to make is to stay open-minded and to keep your options in check when it comes to this stuff, because a lot of it is based on hearsay and is not scientifically backed. So just be aware of what you're taking and what you're putting into your body. What I'm using is Canadian ginseng, 100% North American ginseng, 250 milligrams each. They say on the bottle to take 4 of them per day. I find it a little high. I don't think I can see myself going over 2 a day, and it's mostly just to help me process oxygen more and to for a little bit more of a boost in energy. I do drink coffee as well, but I find it's really not doing much for me these days. So ginseng is mostly for physical and mental energy, and cognition. Of course, here I'm taking the omega 369. A lot of people saying to try and get your omegas through fish naturally, of course, but not all of us can afford that. Well, one thing with the omegas, and I won't get into this too much, but you want to make sure that it has DHA, which is I'll try and pronounce this, docosahexaenoic acid, which is a very important ingredient in there. And I guess the cheaper brands and varieties don't even put any in there. So that's kind of a good way to tell if your fish oil is good or not, or your omegas, I should say. So this particular one has flaxseed oil, fish oil, and borage oil, whatever that is. I haven't again. I'm just getting into this stuff here, so don't know a whole lot about it. I will update you as I go along. Now, the rhodiola is what's called an adaptogen. It helps you deal with physical and mental stress, and to kind of bounce back and um, react better to stress, which anybody could really use. I've tried a number of different ones, and this is the one that I'm on right now, just experimenting with. Again, this may not be a stack or combination of things that I might take long term. None of these things, in my opinion, you should be taking long term anyway. The other thing is the probiotic. It's a complete probiotic. It has, I believe, 5,000 active cells. That's just to help with digestion and everything, considering that I'm going to be taking a lot of things into my body that I'm not used to taking, such as milk. I have a slight dairy intolerance, so it should be interesting to see how that goes, because I'll be using chocolate milk for my recovery drink and to mix my shakes. But getting into that actually is what I've chosen to go with for nutritional supplements. Again, a lot of controversy out there for whether you should take this or not. And we'll see. We'll see. I'm sort of a guinea pig in this with myself, so we'll see how it goes. But this is what I decided to do. And I actually just took this maybe 30 minutes ago. Little bit of rumbling going on in the stomach, but nothing that I can't handle. I felt a little bit of nausea earlier, but I think that might just be from the dairy because I said I'm a little bit lactose intolerant, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully the probiotic will be able to help with that. But again, those supplements, which I wanted to mention, I always take with food. Some of them say you shouldn't, you don't have to take them with food. I always do, just because it's easier on your stomach that way. But for the nutritional supplement, I've got here 100% creatine monohydrate, 5 grams at a time. 1 teaspoon of this goes into my shake. This is a greens supplement, which will just give me some added nutrients and vitamins for the extra taxation I'm going to be putting on my body, lifting weights and doing cardio. And this is just a basic 90% whey protein isolate, which you can get at any bulk food store. And then one thing I opted to throw into my shake as well, which I have it on hand, it's very, very expensive but extremely good for you and has all kinds of benefits, is matcha green tea. You can make this as a ritual like the Japanese do, or you can just throw it into a smoothie or a shake as you would with pretty much any other powder. I've had this container open for a little while and I don't know how long it lasts, so I figured it'd be best to just use it up because it's so expensive. I don't want to waste any of it. So what I'm doing is 1 teaspoon of each, so 4 teaspoons total, go into about 14 ounces of chocolate milk. Shake that up, drink it. I told myself I wasn't going to down it, but I found that it actually didn't taste that bad, and I was able to drink it fairly quickly. Again, we'll see how that goes with the lactose intolerance part of it, but moving right along. A couple of other things that I may take from time to time. Again, I'm not a big believer in taking things daily. I usually only take things when I need it, which is very hard to tell for this kind of thing, like omegas. How do you know when you need it? Well, your brain might be a little foggy is one reason I would take it. If I'm feeling some mental fog, if I feel just run down, things like that, I want to get to a point where I can just trust my body and I can trust my mind to tell me what it needs. And I think that it's possible, and this is a hypothesis, mind you, but I think it is possible to get that in tune with your body and with your mind to be able to know what nutrients you need, or maybe not the particular nutrient, but what type of food you're after, whether it's a fatty food, if it's a vegetable that you need more vitamins of some kind, if you need iron, if you need protein. You should be able to read your body enough to know, hey, I'm lacking this thing. I should take in more, whatever, be it water or a steak, whatever. Um, Again, moderation is the key here. But a couple things that I am taking in addition to the other stuff that you'll see on my blog is a multivitamin. And you might be asking yourself, what the heck is this thing? Well, that's my e-cig. And the reason I'm including this in my video right now is that about a week ago, it's Monday the 25th, May 25th right now. And not but a week ago, last Monday, I quit smoking just cold turkey. I wasn't a very heavy smoker to begin with, averaging maybe 1 to 3 cigarettes a day. And this is coming from a pack, 2 packs a day, some years ago. So I've, along the years, cut down and down and down and down until I needed very little nicotine to get me through my day. Typically, it's after work when I want to relax, the typical BS about wanting to just unwind at the end of the day and having that cigarette. That's typically when I would smoke, or on the occasion socially, but not much for the social scene anymore. So typically it was just a relaxation ritual that I would partake in. Completely illogical because, as we all know, nicotine is a stimulant and does nothing for relaxation. So I watched a really, really good documentary by Alan Carr, or based on Alan Carr's work, and I'll put that in the description of the video so you can check it out. But there was something about this documentary that just hit me, and I realized that I've been looking at cigarettes the wrong way. I've been looking at it like if I were to quit, that I'd be losing something, I'd be missing something, I'd be sacrificing something. But the only thing I've been sacrificing is my health by smoking. So the documentary really connected with me in the sense that I know now what attitude I have to have towards it to be successful. And I'm not going to bullshit anybody. I'm not going to lie to anyone and say it's been easy. This last week has been no problem. I've had really bad mood swings. I've had some serious rage at times. I've had some really hardcore frustration and wanting to give up and just go buy a pack and have a cigarette. And there's a lot of um, internal conflict and turmoil that goes along with quitting smoking. And if for any smoker out there, you know that feeling, that that insecurity, that that gnawing at your insides, that aching in your veins and your blood just are crying out for that drug, like they just want it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or if it doesn't make sense. You just want it, and it's all about changing your attitude towards what that feeling is and what it means, and empowering yourself to decide I don't have to smoke, just because I have this feeling. And you can watch the documentary and decide for yourself, but essentially it's allowing this demon within you, this nicotine demon, to just die. And every time you feel a craving, every time you feel like you want to crack and you want to smoke, just embrace that feeling and know that you're only feeling that because that demon within you is dying and you want it to die. And the only way to kill it is by depriving it of what it wants. So, a really, really interesting documentary. Finally, something that connected with me, and I was feeling I was really in a receptive state to take in all the information that it was showing me. Again, I don't want this video to be all about quitting smoking. I just wanted to explain why the e-cig is there. And speaking of e-cigs, I decided to take a different approach this time. I got rid of all my nicotine e-juices, and I was left with only three, which were nicotine free, that I got for this specific purpose. That one day I knew I would quit, and that I would need these juices to do my quit without nicotine. Because if you think about it, that's like giving someone a needle full of heroin to help them quit heroin. It doesn't make any sense, right? So these chewing gums and these sprays and even e-juices with nicotine in them, you're just stringing yourself along. You're making the recovery process and the detox and the withdrawals that much worse because you're just prolonging the whole thing, right? Every time you have a puff of that e-cig, you're just delaying your recovery by, X amount of days, however long it takes to completely rid yourself of that nicotine. I mean, yes, I will say if you're gonna vape with nicotine, way better than cigarettes, hands down. But if you want to be free of nicotine and not just the cigarette, you want to be free of the addiction, then you have to go nic free. You have to. There's no other way. And the only way to do that is cold turkey. A lot of people will say, and again, I don't want this to be all about quitting smoking because that's not what it's about. I'm only a week into my quit, so I'm by no means a pro at this. However, I have attempted to quit in my 20 years of smoking many, 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 many times. So I feel like I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. A lot of people are going to tell you, don't use anything. Don't use gum. And I'm not talking about Nicorette gum or nicotine gum. They're saying don't use any crutches, whether it's candy, chips, pop, um, whatever it is, e-cigs, any crutch, um, anything that you're going to turn to substitute your smoking. You don't want to use that. That's the theory, okay? Because you're basically replacing one thing with another. Now, yes, and I've always been an advocate of this. You want to progress to less harmful things. That's one way of doing it, right? You could every time you Jones for a cigarette, you could pick up a stick of gum or have a candy a hard candy. And one could argue that that hard candy, the sugar that's contained in it, is much less harmful for you than a cigarette that has 4,000 chemicals in it. I would agree 100%. But the logic behind this is that you don't want to replace one thing with another, right? Obviously, you're not going to be as addicted to candy as you will be to cigarettes, but that's a whole other thing. I digress. Um, all this to say that I've opted to, when I do have those moments where I want to break, or if I feel like I really need to have that oral fixation, if I need to smoke something or feel something in my lungs, I'll take a puff off of the e-cig, and it's nowhere near as damaging and as harmful to my health as a cigarette would be. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with turning to it because I know that I could just drop it at any moment. There's nothing in the e-juice that's addictive. It's a PGVG blend, um, so it has only propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, water, and flavoring. That's it. There's nothing else. We're talking 4 ingredients, which are known to be relatively safe if used correctly, as opposed to the 4,000 chemicals that are known to be harmful in cigarettes. So just food for thought. In terms of water, this is an investment that I made several months ago, almost a year ago at this point. So for the last year or so, I've been using this for my water. This is from H2O Labs, and it's a 1 gallon water distiller. There's a similar model by Mega Home, both two companies that are very reputable for this kind of machine. If you're going to buy one of these units, make sure that it's stainless steel and that everything that's touching the water is either stainless steel or glass. Now you might be saying, well, this is plastic here, which it is, but inside here there's a glass insert that you can put a carbon filter in, a charcoal coconut husk filter. So really at no point is the water touching plastic, and there's no risk of any of the plastic or chemicals in the plastic leaching into the water. This is all stainless steel. The intake tube, or whatever you want to call it, is stainless steel, and it goes into a glass insert that has the filter in it, and then into your glass carafe. So at no point is it touching any plastic. Even this plastic lid here, it comes in contact with the water. This here is Himalayan pink salt. This is something I'm using to electrolyze my water, to add electrolytes back into the water, and to raise the pH of the water so it's not quite as acidic. One thing you'll notice is this machine is great, by the way. It's one of the best investments I've ever made. It's a little on the pricey side, maybe $250, $300 with shipping, but it's well worth it. One of the best things I've ever bought. But one thing that you'll notice is when the water comes out, it's slightly acidic, and I think, and I'm still researching this, but I think that's because of the filtration, the post filter, the coconut husk filter, which takes out a lot of the VOCs and the last few things, improves the taste. Um, it helps a lot of the last final stages of the purification process by filtering it, but it makes the water slightly acidic. So to counter that, you can just throw in a little bit of salt. If you don't have any pink Himalayan salt, you can just throw in some regular salt. Try not to use iodized salt. Obviously, table salt, not a good idea. But if you can find kosher salt or even sea salt, it's probably a good idea. And you don't need much. We put in, I think, an eighth to a quarter teaspoon per gallon. So very, very small amounts. Again, this is something you may want to reconsider if you have high blood pressure or if you have a sensitivity to salt. There's other ways of adding minerals and whatnot to your water and raising the pH without using salt. One thing I used to use is baking soda, just a little bit of baking soda, maybe an eighth to a quarter teaspoon per gallon, just to raise the pH. But the thing with baking soda is it will only neutralize the pH. It won't bring it up past about 8.5 at the most. So if you want to go beyond that, you're going to have to use other things like salts and minerals. So that's what I do for my water, and the water is exceptional, by the way. Definitely everybody should get this, if only to take the fluoride and the chlorine and the other crap that's in the tap water, just get it out. Brita machines and other filtration devices, even RO, just it won't do the job like distilled water will do. And you can get into the whole argument of water clustering and how this I forget what the term is, but basically some people believe that it destroys the structure of the water, which it does. It I'm not going to get into the science of all this, but it does to a certain extent, but water will cluster itself back up naturally. You don't need to freeze it. You don't need to do anything crazy. You just need to let it sit. And some people actually what they'll do is they'll give their water a sun blast. And what that means is their gallon, their carafe or whatever, they'll just bring it in the sun and they'll let the sun just work on it for a little while. That's another way to restructure your water. But anyway, this is not a conversation for this video. Some other things that I might consider taking at one point throughout my progress, throughout my voyage here, I guess you could say, is some additional physical and mental support should I need it. So I'm anticipating at some point maybe having some digestive issues, maybe being a little bit run down, which is a normal common thing when you're getting into weightlifting and becoming more physically exerting yourself physically, I should say. There's a couple of things I've noticed. And again, I live in Canada, so we do have some pretty harsh winters. This winter was a pretty bad one, so I decided to experiment with some immune boosting supplements. And I found two really, really good ones that I'd like to share with you guys. And if you pull anything from this video, it's this. And um, I don't want to vouch for it from my own personal experience. Do your own research on these things and find the answer for yourself. But for me, these things worked amazingly. So I would suggest for the cost of them, which is no more than 10, 15 bucks a bottle, it's worth a try to see if it will work for you. So here's a couple of things that have worked wonders for me, and I might look into doing a little bit more. Right now, I'm out of all three of these things. But if I feel the need for them, again, it's not something I'm going to take every day, only when needed. But if I feel a need for them, I may purchase them again. So AHCC is actually a mushroom extract. I believe it's from the root of shiitake mushroom, if I'm not mistaken. But AHCC is known for all kinds of immune boosting properties. And here's another version of it. This one boosts up the immune system by boosting the beta-1,6 glucans in your body. You can look up what that means. But they boost, long story short, they boost your immune system. And how I know for myself, again, that they work is that um, there were a few occasions this winter where everybody in my house was sick. My wife was sick, my kids were sick, and I was not sick. And it was because I was taking these things. I'm convinced of it. And it just added an extra layer of protection. And of course, proper hydration is a key factor. Proper nutrition is a key factor. Eating right, getting lots of vitamins, getting exercise. Unfortunately, which I wasn't doing because it was winter. But these things did help me to fend off colds and flus. I'm not going to say I was immune to all of them. I did get sick this winter, and particularly I got sick when I stopped taking them and thought, oh, winter's done, I'm okay. And then, bam, it hit me about 2 weeks after. So I'm pretty confident something was going on there. And again, you can do your own research on these things and determine for yourself if you think they're effective or not. There's all kinds of studies on these as well. These are mostly Asian supplements used mostly in Asian countries. So AHCC and Agaricus Blazei, which goes by another name as well. Can't think of it off the top of my head. The other thing I'll touch on real quick is SAMe. This is for to support. It says it right there on the bottle. Healthy support of your mood balance and to relieve osteoarthritic pain. And I don't have any osteoarthritic pain, but I do have some TMJ, which I found does help a lot. TMJ is a condition in your jaw where your jaw becomes locked or very tight at some points, and it can give you pretty bad tension headaches. So I found that it did relieve that. I didn't have as much tension in my jaw, and it did help for just to stabilize the mood and prevent any kind of spikes in terms of whether it's depression or anxiety or manic episodes, anything like that. It tends to just keep you not necessarily flatline, but it prevents those large spikes of up and down, which is very important. Right now, again, I'm not taking SAMe for two reasons. It's very expensive, and it also does deplete your vitamin B. So you have to take a supplement along with it, which I don't like. And again, I'm a strong believer that you shouldn't have to take anything every day, um, other than proper hydration and nutrition. Those are the exceptions. But in terms of supplements, not really a reason to take stuff every day. Take as needed. So that's pretty much it for that. Again, I know this is a very lengthy video. There's just a couple more things I want to touch on before I let you guys go, and that is what I plan to do in terms of my day one. So my day one is going to be mostly, which I plan to do tomorrow, it's going to be mostly some testing on my weight limits to see what I can handle as far as the dumbbells, um, curls, the bar as well to see how much I can handle. I believe I got 60 pounds on there with the bar right now, which is a good starting. It's a good starting point for me. The videos that I did watch and some reading that I did suggested that if you can do anywhere between 8 to 16 reps, you're in a good range where you're not pushing yourself too much and it's not too easy. So anywhere between 8 to 16 reps. And then, of course, you want to do as many as you can when you're starting off, as many sets as you can when you're first starting off. Other than that, I'm going to be just being more mindful of my nutrition, my circulation, trying to get up off the chair because I work from home. And, sitting in front of the computer for long periods of time is taxing on the body. So just trying to be more mindful of my mind and my body and the demands that go with it. Some stretching I want to get into as well. Maybe I'll look at yoga. I'm not sure. All on the horizon. Um, let's see. I mentioned the supplements. Some other things that I have as well are one of those yoga balls, which I heard are very good for you. Actually, I might use that until I get my bench to do the bench presses. Apparently, that's very good on the back and to help your core. Um, in case I run into any stressful situations or really hitting the wall with this whole smoking thing, I might look at vaporizing some medicinal cannabis. Again, vaporizing is the only way to go because you're not going to get any of those, well, not nearly as many of those smoke chemicals as you would. And then, of course, I mentioned chocolate milk is going to be my recovery drink because it's been shown to have all the carbs and the muscle building elements that you need in a recovery drink. I'm not going to be doing any of this high sugar Gatorade crap. And as far as mood uplifting, which I think is very, very important, I've got a couple last weapons in my arsenal that I'd like to share with you. One of them being the happy light here. Basically, it mimics the light from the sun, and if you're in a place where you don't get a lot of sun, it can be very important to have one of these lights to mimic the effects of sunlight and get on that rhythm that we're used to. Couple final things that I'm gonna cover here really fast is a book that I happen to pick up. This book has been out of print since the 70s, so I ended up paying almost $40 with shipping for this book. But it's supposed to be very good if you're a sufferer like I am of bad habits. This could include smoking. For me, I'm ashamed to say that I'm a wolf biter, so I'm not going to show you my fingers because I don't want to gross you out. But suffice it to say that I have a major problem with biting my fingernails and the skin, the cuticles and stuff, because they get raw from chewing, and then you end up Anyway, anybody who knows anything about this stuff will be able to relate with what I'm saying. But it becomes a serious problem, and it's a major um, it's a major factor in your health, because if you think about how dirty your hands are, and I try to wash my hands as much as possible, but uh, if you think about how dirty your hands are and how many things you touch, come in contact with, and it goes right in your mouth, not a good idea, no matter how you look at it. Not to mention what it does to your teeth from chewing on your nails, and your breath, because of all the bacteria. And I go on and on about this stuff, but if you can pick this up in a used bookstore, if you can somehow get a hold of this book, it's called Habit Control in a Day, and it's by Nathan H. Azreen, PhD, and R. Gregory Nunn, PhD. I don't know if these guys are still alive. Like I said, this book has been out of print since the 70s, but here they are right there. So this book is highly recommended for conquering your habits. It covers all kinds of things like chewing your nails, everything from chewing your nails to like stage fright, even people that chew and eat their hair, stuff like just nasty, bad habits that you want to get rid of. And this will show you how to do it, or at least teach you a technique where you can get the process rolling in a day. I've only read a few pages of it so far, but this is definitely something I'll be reading throughout my process. And one last thing, which you've probably seen if you've ever seen a therapist or if you've ever seen a psychologist, they've all got this one on their shelf. And it's one that I, saw and read from so many times that I decided to go and pick it up for myself. And that's the Feeling Good Handbook. And this is basically for all that ails you in terms of mental conditions, anxiety, depression, um, any mental condition that you may have, is probably in this book with some pretty good exercises and thoughts around how you can deal with that on your own without having to see a psychologist. Highly recommended and used for years and years by the medical community. So I think this is a good place to stop. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you were able to stick with me throughout this video. I know it was very long, but I needed to get this out. I'm going to try to make my other videos much shorter and from here on in, but I wanted the introductory video to cover everything that I'm going to use and attempt to factor into my journey to back to health. So I hope that you'll join me for this journey, and you'll support me along, and you'll share your own stories with me on how you were successful, or maybe some hurdles and obstacles that you've hit along the way, and maybe we can help each other. So thanks very much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.